Welcome to today's lesson about graphing complex numbers. And we're also going to get modulus, and we're also going to get difference of squares that have complex roots. It's a thing. Pretty much there's three different parts. We'll just kind of break this up into three different videos, and because there's each part's different, so might as well split it up. So what we're going to start with is graphing complex numbers, which is actually incredibly easy. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna graph it on what looks like a normal coordinate plane, but instead of this being the x values and these being the y values, your x axis here is now the real part of your number, and then the y axis is your imaginary part of your number. And so if you want to graph something like 3 minus 2i, the real part of that is 3, and the imaginary part of that is negative 2. And so you're actually going to go to 3, negative 2. And instead of just putting a dot, you're going to graph it as a vector. Which hopefully you remember how to draw a vector. It's really easy. You draw an arrow that points at that dot. And it starts at the origin. Let me see if I can actually draw a nice looking vector. You know what? I'm just going to go with this. Lovely. All right, vector. It's an arrow. You start at the center and you make the arrow point at the dot. And that's actually it for graphing complex numbers. The real part is the horizontal aspect of it, and then the imaginary part's the y axis of it. So if I want to graph something like negative 7 plus 4i, I go to where x, if you think about it in x and y, this would be the x coordinate, this is the y. I'm going to sneeze any moment now, so if you hear an explosion, it's totally fine. Yeah, so this is my x part, and this is kind of my y part, so I go to negative 7, 4, left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to end up over here. So now I need to draw an arrow that starts from my origin, goes over to the dot here. You just turn it into an arrow here, and now we have drawn it as a vector. Remember, your vectors are going to start just here at 0, 0. Ta-da! We graphed this complex number, and this is pretty much it. I don't know what other variations you could possibly see, but that's it. So that's what's going on. First part should be here's the variation going backwards. Oh man, can't imagine how difficult it'd be to go backwards on this. Yeah, you just figure out what point it's looking at. Figure out your x coordinate for that, and that's the real part. And then you figure out the y coordinate for it, and that's the imaginary part. So this looks like the x value here is negative 3, and the y value here is at 4, positive 4. So that's going to make my complex number of negative 3 plus 4i. You don't put negative 3, 4. You put negative 3 plus 4i because it's a complex number. And this is the real axis, and this is the imaginary axis. You think I could write imaginary legibly? But yeah, there you go. There's your variation. You had to go backwards. Yeah. So there you go. Good luck.